Eddie, good to see you.
Okay.
You've reached the business end of the group stage in the Champions League. Some terrific nights. Given your schedule, how important would it be for you to try and get one of those top 8 places and stop yourself having to play in the playoffs?
Yeah, it'd be nice, but I think that we just relish the games, the 2 games that we have to come. I think the best way to sort of answer that question is to try and win the next 2 games in front of us, and starting with tomorrow's game, which is a great game for us, really magical game, I think. Very good team. Been very impressed with all the research we've done on them and how they've been playing and the recent results. So it's set up to be a great game, I think.
How are you looking injury-wise? We saw Dan Burn in training this morning. I think on Friday you said he was back running. It looked like he was doing a bit of ball work. Is there any chance of either him or Will Asula for this game tomorrow?
Making really good progress, Dan. We anticipated sort of the journey back that he's had. He's pretty much stuck to the timelines we expected. He won't make tomorrow. It's too early. Same with Will Asula. Today was their first days with the team, or first day with the team, should I say, but hopefully not too far away.
Thank you. If we can give the mic to Luke Edwards, please. Thank you.
Hi. It's been a slightly strange season in many respects across the Premier League, but I saw an interesting stat that I think since the last international break, you've actually taken 21 points, which puts you 3rd in the form table. Does that put things into context a little bit of how well you're doing this season? Or in this period?
Yeah, I think I've said many times, and people just always raise their eyebrows when I start talking, generally anyway. But I think since that international break that you mentioned, the Manchester City game, I think being the first game after the break, I've seen an upturn in performances generally. I think we've been much more consistent since that break. In that break we did a lot of work. Probably the only time we've been able to train in recent months. I was really pleased with the response of the players, how they focused on the things that we identified that we needed to improve. Yeah, we've not been perfect. There's been the odd game here and there where we haven't performed to the level that we want to, but generally much better, much more like ourselves, scoring goals again. So yeah, I've been pretty pleased. I think the challenge for us is now to maintain that.
Thank you. Lee Ryder?
Eddie, this game always brings back sort of memories of Sir Bobby Robson. How important is it to talk about the values that he brings to the club? Because I know you've got the portrait at the training ground when you walk in every morning. So could you just talk a little bit about those values that you like to maintain?
Yeah, well aware of the history with Sir Bobby, and we were before the Barcelona game as well. I think the values that he stood for, hard work, good organisation, always going to the end, never giving up, trying to do the crowd justice, representing the club in the right way. I think these are all values that he stood for, and he wanted teams to fully commit to the crowd and to give everything on a match day, and that's what we're going to try and do. We've been trying to live by those principles from day one since I arrived here, and very similar to Kevin Keegan's principles as well, and he was maybe more expansive in his way of playing and really wanted to attack, and we're trying to live by those principles. So I think that's what the crowd want to see.
And just quickly check as well, there's talk in Brazil about Newcastle have made some kind of approach for Ryan, who's been linked with Bournemouth as well. Can I just check if there's any truth in that?
There's no truth in that.
Thank you. George Calkin, please.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, George.
We're speaking to Sven after you, and just on his contract, he's obviously a very important player in his own right, so it's good news in its own right. But just after what happened with Alex in the summer, how important was it, or how important is it that a big player has committed himself to the club, to the project, not just to you, but for the fans, for the club in general, and the dressing room?
Yeah, I think it's really important that when we enter those negotiations, the players that you're discussing terms with have a good feel for their football club, for us that work with them every day, for the supporters, for the ownership, that they feel this is the right place for them to continue their development and their journey. Really pleased that Sven feels that way about the football club. I think it's been a tough few months for him. difficult injury problems, setbacks. He's had to show real strength of character because he's someone that always wants to play. He's desperate to help the team. He's very ambitious, determined. I think he's got great qualities as well, and I think we really, really missed him. And it took us a long time to adjust to being without him. So then to get him back was a massive lift, and I think now we're seeing the very early signs of him returning to his best level. So hopefully that can stay the same for many years to come.
Okay, we'll go to Craig Hope and then next year as well. Craig, please.
Hi, Eddie. The expanded format has been derided to a degree because of the number of teams that go through, because you have got that safety net. But as a coach, can you just tell us what the difference is between the top 8 and not being in the top 8? How big an incentive is that to get in there?
Yeah, it's a massive incentive because it means less games in a season when we're being stretched physically, mentally. It's a big demand on us, so we could let the priority is to qualify. However we do that, whether that's extra games, whether that's in the top 8 is obviously our wish. So we're striving with every game to maximise what we can deliver. I think, the Marseille game sort of still hurts us a little bit because we were in a really strong position in that game, and it was I thought a decent performance, and we could look back on those types of games with a little bit of regret, but not in terms of effort and endeavour to try and qualify. And we've got 2 games. Look, we need to, as I said earlier, commit to every game, try and win every game and see where it takes us.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is Dutch TV. Hello.
Hi.
What are your views on PSV? They, of course, won against Liverpool just 2 months ago.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good coach. Really good team to watch, I think. I've enjoyed planning the game. They're expansive. Like to build from the back. They've got some ideas that are slightly different, which I always enjoy, watching something that's slightly out of the ordinary. But they impressed me. I mean, watching the games against Liverpool, as you say, I thought they were very strong that night. And then Atletico Madrid, I thought they were outstanding and really unlucky not to win. So I think that's the level of team we're playing against. Always a strong team in Europe anyway, historically. So we'll be ready for a good game.
Thank you. The gentleman back row on the inside, please. Yeah.
Hello,
Hi.
Good afternoon. This is Bennett van Vessen from the Dutch media as well. I was wondering, how would you describe the development of Sven Botman and how important is he for your team?
Yeah, I think Sven, when he first came to the club, was a sort of an instant hit with us. Pretty much came into the team straight away. I think it took him sort of 7-8 games to break through. But his early form in that first season was magnificent. I think he was part of a back four that conceded very few goals, part of a team that suffered very few defeats. So I think he adapted to life in the Premier League very quickly. Unfortunately, we've lost him for a period of time due to injury, and that's been the hardest part of his time here. But we're delighted to have him back now, and hopefully he can get back to the form of when he was at his very best, because for me, when he was at that level, he was one of the best defenders in the Premier League, without a doubt.
Okay, we'll go to Daniel, Martin, and then Scott, please.
Excuse me, Eddie. Building on the previous question, despite the inconsistencies this season, some of the performances that haven't been to your sort of standard, is your narrative the one you would want to project, that you are still just a couple of points away from the top 5, you're within touching distance of getting through to the next stage in Europe, and domestic cup-wise, you're still within a shout there, and that actually the end to this season can be as positive as other ones have been as well?
Yeah, I've said many times, I'm glass half full. I think at this stage of the season, with everything that's ahead of us, we have to be very, very positive. Of course, this is a key month, and I've said that right at the beginning of it, in terms of our Premier League form, which has been good to this point. We're still in the FA Cup, and now we enter 2 really huge games in the Premier League Champions League. So I think these next 2 games obviously will dictate a lot. I think this first game, being at home, big onus on us to attack the game, to try and get the result we need to put us in a much better place. That's the only focus in my brain right now. So yeah, I think we know this is going to be a big one.
Martin Hardy, please. Sorry. Thank you.
Hi Eddie. Goals have come easier in the Champions League this season than the Premier League. Is there a reason for that?
No, I don't know. Sometimes these things happen. I think yeah, I think we've done well in certain games in the Champions League. I don't know. I think you can see from the players there's a real stimulation about these games. There's a real focus. You can see it from the training and the preparation, but you can also just see it from the body language of the players. I think they really want to do well in every competition, but I think there's a special feeling about this for obvious reasons. So I think that plays a part. I think we have some really good attacking players, and I think some of the games have suited us in terms of playing really high intensity games, and with the atmosphere here has really helped us as well. So I think there's a few conditions that we hope will line up in our favour, and this will be similar. Home game, we want a really good atmosphere. We want the players athletically to feel really good, and hopefully the combination of that and the crowd can make it a really positive night for us.
Thank you. Go to Scott Wilson and then to Dominic Skerr, please.
Hi, Eddie. You're obviously a very different team to the team that didn't make it through 2 seasons ago. We know the changes that have happened since then. Do you think you're a better team now, or do you think that you're a team that's still kind of learning its way and growing, given that it is different and it has had to change?
I don't know. I don't tend to necessarily directly compare the two teams. You're asking me to do so. I'd say we're different. I don't know whether we're better or worse. That's really difficult to judge. Certainly, there's been a changeover of some of the personnel. And that's made us the team that we are today, in the sense that some of the individuals are slightly different in their profile. I think we're very effective. When we're at our best, I think we're a highly effective team. And I think we've always been that way, even 2 years ago, in a sense that we're not necessarily looking for a team that dominates possession, but we want to be effective when we do have it. We want to be incisive, and we want to be creating chances. And I think that's been much better overall in recent weeks. Defensively, we've been really solid at times this season. Not sort of the whole time, over the whole piece of the season. We've had moments of fragility. But hopefully we're building that back up again with the clean sheet at the weekend. So, very different team, but one that I think is growing to get better.
Okay, we'll try and squeeze 3 more, and we'll start with Dominic. We'll go to Mark Douglas and Kieran Kelly to finish, please.
Hi, Eddie. With less than 2 weeks left of the transfer window, is Dan Burn, Willisula returning after a decent period out as close as we'll get to new signings bolstering the squad this week?
I don't know. Certainly they will feel like new signings for us, especially Dan, because there's a real positional need there. And that's not a slight on Willisula at all. We're delighted to have him back in training. He's going to be a big player for us. But Dan's return, with being so light in that position, is a huge lift. If we can keep him fit and feeling good, he will be like a new signing. But yeah, there's still time, and it's still relatively unknown in terms of what direction we will take.
Thank you. Mark?
Anthony Gordon, somebody who said he kind of lives for this stage. What have you made of his season so far, and are you looking to him in these next 2 Champions League games to kind of continue his form in this competition?
Yeah, we're looking for every player to really step up in these kind of games, and that's what I said after the Wolves game. We were looking for someone to really try and grab that game and make the difference and find a way to score to win us that match, and that's sometimes what you're looking for. The individual attacking players that can really make the difference. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for us. But yeah, we want all the attacking players to rise to this occasion. Anthony, I think, has had some really high points of this season, mainly in the Champions League. So yeah, he's a big player for us.
Thank you. Last one, Kieran, please.
Just on a similar theme, whoever plays up front, what do you think is the key to getting more out of Nick or indeed Johan?
Well, I think there's an individual expectation that they have to max out on the pitch and give their all. I think if they do that, they've both got standout qualities that will help us, whichever one we pick, as you say. So I think all we can ask from them is they give their absolute all for the team. And then, of course, the team needs to create moments for them to hopefully decide the game.